All right. So our next guest speaker is Merv Jersak. Merv, come on in. You are part of the International Smile Day, and you have a beautiful message because you've succeeded in so many endeavors, so many actions you've taken, and proof is in the pudding. I've seen you at the Craig Duswalt's Rock Your Life, Rock Your Impact, Rock Your Abundance, and isn't that an amazing tribe of people?
Yeah, Craig's been a good friend for 15 years, and I consider him a mentor. And it's just, I've met so many people who smile, who smile a
Yes.
lot. That's where I met you, actually, Ken, isn't it?
It is. And I brought him up because in that group, it's a mastermind and it's a conversation every week of, hey, I either have this problem or I have this challenge or I have this solution
Yeah.
that I found that would help everyone's life. And so you leave with so much value. And I think it really is a tribute to the more value you have in life that you can give, the more smiles you're actually creating in the world. So, what is your heritage, sir? Where is your lineage from?
I belong to another mastermind, and one of the things that they ask us is, tell us something that no one would know about you. And so part of that leads into my heritage. I am a full-blooded Czechoslovakian Canadian living in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I love green chili.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, it has been a pleasure working with you on your brilliant idea, your brilliant book, and I know you have a copy of it to show.
Oh, I
And
did. Yeah. In fact, I got on this morning. I was on last night, got
yep,
on again this morning and picked up Daniel, your book cover designer. And look at this.
yes,
Isn't that
and
beautiful?
yes, it is Daniel Petamonte. We did not show that cover, so I'm glad you did. It's just more of his work. He's going to hit 50 book covers pretty soon, and we're making a coffee table book of just the beautiful covers he's created. And yours will
Perfect.
be included, of course.
And let me plug this. Daniel did that in only 3 takes. We had 3 meetings, a couple emails, and that was the result. So very pleased, very pleased. Look
Well,
at smiling.
I found out something that made me very angry at Daniel. So he did one time I wanted him to do a cover for me and he did it in 36 takes. And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm saying this. He goes, I just want to see you more often.
I just wanted to get mine out. So it was
Well, I promised him that he doesn't need to do 36 takes with me anymore. So he now does it in 3 takes. We just see each other 33 more times.
there you go. Perfect.
So Merv, this is an opportunity for you to have a platform to share what in your book brings smiles to the world, what your feelings and thoughts are, and how you've experienced life with more joy because of smiles. So the floor is yours, sir. I'll be back in about 6 to 8 minutes.
Perfect. Well, as Ken just mentioned, the book is called Lead Smarter, Not Harder. And it's a leadership toolkit for maximum influence. And as I mentioned earlier, I got on last night for a couple hours, for a little while, and then this morning again to listen to the different speakers. And I have to tell you, I am so envious of those speakers who have that ability to bring that philosophy of joy and philosophy of smiling. I am in my head a lot because, as you can tell from the leadership aspect, it's all about leading teams. And my background, first of all, you heard from Ken that I am Czechoslovakian, 100% Czechoslovakian, although I grew up in Canada. And I come from an Eastern European hard scrabble farming background. And so that meant no nonsense. You worked and you got things done. When I went into college, I took a degree in computer science and spent my entire 40 years career developing computer systems. And so, of course, that's all up here. So when Ken asked me to get on to talk about a Smile-A-Thon, I'm thinking, these people live that. I came up through this other process, and I'll tell you that having been in those hard knocks, no nonsense, project driven areas of developing systems for our clients, there often wasn't time to smile. And I remember one very specific time early in my leadership career. I came into the office one day. We were under the gun to get a major deliverable to our client. I came into the office and I heard someone crying in the back room. And I went in, and it was my lead analyst, Amy, and she was truly in tears, just sobbing. And I asked her, Amy, what's going on? And she said, I miss my boyfriend, I miss my family. Now, a little bit of background to this. We were doing a major project for a state that was hard to get to and come home from. And so that state, understanding that, would allow us to go home once a month. Amy had been there almost 2 months because of this major deliverable, and she was truly feeling lonesome like she hadn't been around her family for a while. Here's my response. Amy, get it together. We need to get this out. Now, can you imagine the reaction from Amy? Do you think I absolutely got Amy to truly be motivated to get that deliverable completed? We did get the deliverable completed, and my relationship with Amy became very strained after that. And something about that, even though I was trained as a project manager to get things done on time within budget, no matter what it cost, it didn't sit right with me. And I'll tell you what, flash forward a few years, our company had won a major um, project for another state. And I was meeting my team for the first time. And I walked in the conference room, all of these people, eyes on me, their leader. And I looked at them and I said, and I gave them the pep talk, and I gave them all that information that we needed to do to get started off on the right foot. And as I was finishing, I noticed that everyone was leaning forward in their chairs and they were looking at me. They were looking directly at me. And in my mind, as I'm giving them their marching orders, I'm thinking, wow, I had never been this approachable before. I had never captured an audience quite like this before. And as I finished up, one young lady sitting in the front row put up her hand and said, sir, if I may, sir, you have something green in your teeth. And I looked up and it was spinach. My mind immediately went back in time and I thought, oh, that was from breakfast. I had a spinach omelet 3 hours ago. I've been walking around talking to a managing director, the client's executive staff, our project leadership, and no one told me except for this young lady that I had spinach in my teeth. Embarrassing for me, the leader, but you know what? From the time that I had dealt with Amy to now, I had matured and realized that life is a lot more about smiling and about going with the flow. And I looked at Amy and I said, well, at least my fly wasn't open. And the whole room erupted. And from that moment on, I had people come to tell me that they had never had a project manager as relatable as I was, just from the way that I reacted in that situation. And so I learned from that situation that even as a leader in stressful times, you can bring humor, you can bring joy, you can bring a smile to your team, and then you go forward. Now, Ken asked me when we talked about setting this up, he asked me, what was it about giving or receiving a smile that meant the most? And to me, it's all about connection. The Amy one was a disconnection. This young lady in that team with the spinach in my teeth was a connection. And that was what was beautiful. To me, the whole idea of giving a smile is that you're validating someone's presence. And I love the fact that there was a few years ago, I was in Sacramento, California, and I was walking along the street and I was approached by a person who was down on his luck. And he was looking at his shoes and he approached me and he said, Sir, if you could spare a few dollars, I'm really quite hungry. And I looked at him and I said, I can do better than that. There was a sandwich shop right next door and I said, let's go in there. And he looked at me and he said, can my friend come with me? I smiled at his friend and I said, sure, come on in. And so we ordered the meal for both of these men. And as I was about to pay for it, he tapped me on the shoulder and he said, do you think I could have some coffee? And I said, sure, have some coffee. And here's what that connection did for me as the giver of the smile. He received the smile, but he said, finally, someone has seen me. So no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, it's that smile, it's that connection, it's that ability to really come together as people. I have to tell one quick story. And that is, Ken had also asked how I developed this sense of smile. And it wasn't natural. I am not naturally a smiling, humorous person, but I remember all the way back to the 10th grade, we had a literature teacher who was quite stern, shall I say? But she was demanding, but she was fair. And every week she would give us 20 vocabulary lessons to learn, vocabulary words to learn. Every Monday morning, we would find out who was to give a meaning, a sentence with one of the words that she chose at random. No one knew who she would pick. And this one particular Monday morning, she looked at Roger, my friend, and said, Roger, I need you to stand and give me a sentence with the word benign. Roger stood up to his desk and without thinking, he said, Mrs. Jeannie, you have to be 9 before you can be 10. The entire room erupted. I looked at Roger, I looked at my friends laughing, I looked at Mrs. Jeannie, the most stern person you ever said, guffawing as a result of his comment. And I thought, I want that because if I have something like that, I can bring a smile to anyone. How's
That
that,
was
Ken?
it was phenomenal. I mean, I am going to have to use that later. That is too good.
No, no, my story. That's my story.
No,
True
I'll give
story.
credit, of course. I'll give credit, of
Oh, of
course.
course. There you go.
As a marketer, I have to let other people know how genius you are.
Oh, there you go. But that's what started me on my quest for understanding how humor, how a smile, how something like that can connect with people and really truly break the ice or change the whole dynamic.
100%. You know, my son, I'll do a small diversion here because he's speaking in a couple hours. I'm going to tell him to speak about this exact topic.
Uh,
He was an introvert who did not like his voice, did not like video taken, and it was carbosh. Like, do not do it. At age 6, the pandemic happens. He's 6 3/4, and I'm home. I have nothing to do. But the pandemic wiped all my events out, and that was my life. And I said, Kenny, you should write a book. And he said, what should I write a book about? And I said, well, write a joke book. Everyone wants to smile and laugh right now. They
yep.
need it. And he says, well, how would I do that? And I said, well, go on the internet, find jokes. I mean, look up Merv Jersak. He's got the best jokes. And so he found jokes, put them in. And then when he started reading them, he said, I want to write my own jokes. Then he got on a podcast. And long story short, the podcast changed him into a ham. So there you go.
Very nice. Very nice. Very
So
nice.
thank you for being here. We have, I believe, Tony is next. Yes. So, Merv, thank you for being a part of the International Smile Day. You certainly brought a man. When you laugh, you're awake again. That's the other good thing.
I am, and
Most
it's
of the
early
people,
work. And
yeah,
it's
most
early
of the
work.
people. Well, most of the people here are operating on 2 to 4 hours sleep, and you wouldn't know it. I mean, their eyes show it, but not their energy level. So,
Yeah.
thank you for being here, and thank you for choosing a time that made the whole clock work. So, thank you.
Thanks.